Citigroup is paying $7 billion to settle a federal investigation into subprime mortgages that helped bring about the financial crisis.
The bank's activities shattered lives and livelihoods throughout the country and also around the world.
Citi, along with other banks, packaged questionable loans into securities and sold them to investors.
Despite the fact that Citigroup learned of serious and widespread defects among the increasingly risky loans that they were securitizing, the bank and its employees concealed these defects.
The settlement will pay $4 billion to state and federal authorities. $2.5 billion will be allotted to consumers for principal reduction and financing for affordable housing. J.P. Morgan Chase agreed to pay $13 billion last year in a similar case. The Justice Department says other investigations are underway. Analysts say the government probes are helping to rein in the banking industry in the wake of the financial crisis.
Banks are becoming safer and safer, more like utilities, and as the risk taking is pared back.
Investors reacted positively to the ruling, sending shares up sharply after the announcement. Warren Levinson, Associated Press.
Hi there, I'm Darren Howard.
And I'm Robert Nisbet.
We're taking a look at the massive fail on the capitalism side. The banking industry getting the wrist slap of the century.
Yes, Citigroup paid a little bit of money for doing a very bad thing.
Sort of getting that Goldman Sachs feeling about it. And talking about gold.
Apparently, the Germans would like theirs back.
Yes, but we're not even sure it exists anymore.
Take a look at this.
There was a time when taking gold out of the US Federal Reserve was only for Hollywood to suggest.
Fort Knox! Ha! It's for tourists!
And Bruce Willis to stop. But the financial crisis in Europe saw Germany decide it wanted to bring home a significant chunk of the precious metal from the United States. Despite the aim to ship 300 tons to Frankfurt by 2020, so far they've only managed to bring back just over 10% of that.
The Americans are taking good care of our gold. We have no reasons for mistrust.
Not so, say critics of the slow progress. The $635 billion of gold in US vaults has never been fully inspected by Germany.
Why we haven't been allowed to inspect this escapes me. I'm no conspiracy theories, but the Bundesbank should be able to audit the gold once a year like it does with the reserves in Frankfurt.
The lack of inspection has led some to question if it's still there.
Even after at least one decade of asking Buba, Bundesbank and the Fed, there is still no shred of evidence that the German gold is untouched.
Germany has the world's second largest gold reserves, worth $141 billion. Currently, 45% of that is stored in New York, 13% in London, 11% in Paris, although the 374 tons in France is set to be all returned to Germany. The rest is in the Bundesbank vaults in Frankfurt. Anyone questioning the safety of the gold reserves have been laughed off as conspiracy theorists by those in charge. They say it's solid financial management. The Bundesbank maintain that their plan is on track. However, they do face a potential logistical headache as they try and return almost 700 tons of gold from New York and Paris back here to Germany safe and sound by the 2020 deadline. Peter Oliver, RT, Berlin.
So the Germans have an issue.
Yes, well, you know, the Federal Reserve could maybe show them a sample of their gold with a picture.
It's funny because they made this demand last year too, right?
Well, apparently they've gotten 18%, no, not even that, 8% of their gold back.
That's crazy. We're covering Big Capitalism Fails, and if you take a look at the usury involved with the banking, fiat lending, stuff like this, they actually have someone who's doing a more corrupt thing than that.
Yes, Scotia Bank, just offends me to say, is even taking advantage of our discharged veterans.
So while we take a look at that, you get to take a look at this.
First picture in the military.
A decorated soldier packing up his sacrifice medal. Martin Petrie says he'd trade it for better treatment from the military and from his bank.
What we're going through now, emotionally, not worth medals.
Petrie narrowly missed being killed in Afghanistan. The war left his body broken, no longer fit for duty. The military has discharged him. Petrie and his fiancée had to sell their Ontario home unexpectedly to move back to New Brunswick. Scotia Bank hit them with a $7,000 penalty for breaking their 5-year mortgage.
I don't understand how the bank and the military can't work together to make our final move happen without me losing money. I served this country, I went to war for this country. Heck, I almost lost my life for the country.
I'm stunned, like how they treat military members.
Petrie's branch told him it does waive such fees for soldiers reposted, not those discharged. This even though he's putting another Scotiabank mortgage on his new house.
I'm not changing banks, so I don't understand why there's a penalty in the first place.
The military used to cover those penalties as part of a soldier's final move. Ottawa cut that 2 years ago to save money.
This does not reflect the spirit of the nation.
While veterans protest other cuts, this little-known change could affect any of the 14,000 military members who move each year if they sell a home.
The military mortgage payment.
We tried to ask the Defence Minister's parliamentary secretary about this, but...
Let me look at the details and then we can do something on that.
The Department of National Defence later told us that all members are now advised to make sure their mortgages are portable. As for Scotiabank, as a result of our inquiries, it's apologized to Martin Petrie and canceled the entire fee.
So Scotiabank, wow.
Yeah, not exactly the nicest institution to be dealing with.
I don't know, man. It's kind of freaking me out because honestly, this is a major organization and the only time they move into a moral sense is when the camera is on.
Yeah, I don't think the fine would have been dropped if CBC hadn't gotten involved.
So maybe CBC should get involved with like poverty issues or, crime, injustice.
Yeah, there's no money in that though.
Apparently they're being defunded anyways. Look. If you check out the financial situation, there's one thing that's really offensive. They take advantage of impoverished people.
And of course, poverty causes a growth industry in usury.
Yes, usury. Look it up. It's an important thing. It's something that we're supposed to be protected against. In fact, the Bible even talks about it. This is the high cost of payday loans.
It should not surprise you that it is in the poorest parts of town where you'll find them. Most of us rarely even notice them, but if you're one of an estimated 100,000 people in BC who use them, these payday loan stores are everywhere. 2 of them right across the street from each other and around the corner from a family services office.
It is a very big problem, and it's not only a problem, but it's what happened to when people get engaged in this infinite loop of debt.
Currently, payday loan stores can charge as much as 600% annual interest, and if someone is strapped for cash and can't pay it back, it gets much worse. Today, Van City Credit Union announced plans to offer more or less the same service, but for a lower interest rate to qualifying borrowers.
We have an infrastructure, so we can make sure that the cost is low. We make sure that, of course, we're not giving credit to people who can't afford it, but we think we can offer a better alternative that breaks the cycle of these, sort of loans that people end up being trapped in.
With Van City, if a borrower can repay a $300 loan within 2 weeks, there's an interest charge of $2.20. That's equivalent to an annual rate of 19%.
There's going to be consumers out there and viewers out there say, whoop-de-doo, 19% when any saving vehicle around gives me 1 to 2%.
I know, and that's a tough thing, isn't it, margins these days, and given the fact that the interest rates aren't that great.
You compare 19% with 400%, so it's all relative, right? So it might look really bad in a general banking system, but I think that it worked really well for people that the only other alternative is all over 400%.
While Consumer Protection BC estimates 100,000 people in BC use payday loans, social workers believe it's much higher, as those who do use them aren't likely to admit it. Ted Chernecki, Global News.
So,
yeah,
that's some interesting reporting that Global did.
Yes, actually reporting some facts and issues here, which they don't seem to do. Remember, we had a foreclosure spike right here in Kelowna, BC, Canada, that wasn't reported on the news at all.
And I'm pretty sure that our mayor said that Kelowna is out of the recession.
Yes, apparently everything is thumbs up in Kelowna. Sorry, wrong answer.
But apparently across the wider scope of Canada's community, some people are still having difficulty finding jobs.
No, say it's not so.
Even if you're extremely qualified.
I wish we had a clip on it.
Oh, we do.
Like he has for each of the past 364 days, Fareed Khan is spending today searching for a job. The year-long hunt has taken a toll. Khan lives in Ottawa, has spent decades working in public policy, and has degrees and certificates from 3 universities.
People look at that and they say, oh my God, you're overqualified. You know, how can I hire you because I wouldn't be able to pay you what you're worth?
He's not alone. Canada lost 9,400 jobs in June, and the unemployment rate edged up to 7.1%, a full percent higher than the U.S. rate. And there's more bad news. As the American economy rebounds, the expectation is Canada's will too, but that isn't exactly happening. The culprits? Lagging exports and not enough business investment. It's enough for the Bank of Canada to cut its outlook for the Canadian economy, pushing back the date for full recovery by 6 months to mid-2016.
Right now, we do not have a sustainable growth picture in Canada.
This isn't the first time the Bank of Canada has revised its outlook for the Canadian economy. In fact, it's been saying the economy will reach its full potential in 2 years since 2010. The government is fast to say it will.
We're balancing our budget and keeping our taxes low, and that's the right path forward.
But Fareed Khan isn't convinced. With bills mounting and his bank account dwindling, it isn't easy to be optimistic.
I wake up every morning and try and keep going, because the alternative is what do you do?
So that you know what, we got to start reporting things. There's other things in Canada that you don't understand. The way that they derive the unemployment rate in Canada right now is a lie. The government straight out is lying to everybody. They only report the number of people receiving unemployment insurance or welfare checks, or of course disability checks. And that in no way reflects the number of people looking for work.
I'm shocked. You say the government lies to us?
Boy, it's almost like it's a trend or something. Maybe it's just because of job security and they want to keep looking like they're actually doing something.
Yeah, well, don't forget, we do have an election coming up next year.
Yes, and of course, Stephen Harper is probably going to be in the court explaining the way that he authorized payments to Mike Duffy.
If there's any justice, that will occur.
Looking for justice, and of course, more than a wrist slap on banks, I am Darren Howard.
And I am Robert Nisbet.
Please stay tuned. We've got Tory Troubles coming up here, and we're going to be covering the real story.
This summer, rock like we did before. Another earth-shattering event for the ages. The Neocon Reunion Tour. Come I-Rock to the biggest Neocon stars of yesterday. The boys are back in town with headliner Dick Cheney. Keith Richards of the Neocons is somehow still alive and I-Rockin' it. Come see the bad boy playing hits from his seminal album, Greeted as Liberators. Also back is Paul Wolfowitz, one of the most I-Rockin' Neocons there is. Who can forget his I-Rock hit, Finance Its Own Reconstruction, and his September 11th tribute song, Why Not I-Rock? The Neocon Reunion Tour also brings you Doug Fife and the Post-War Planners with their breakout single, You Say Osama, I Say Saddam. L. Paul Bremer, the Viceroy, is back, and I-Rockin' it with These Boots Are Made for Depacification. And from Neocon Supergroup, Project for a New American Century, Crystal and Kagan are back after selling over $1 trillion in war. The Neocon Reunion Tour also played David Frum and the Destroyers, Richard Pearl, John Bolton and the Shock and Awe, Mark Thiessen, Liz Cheney and the Demon Sea, even Ahmed Chalabi. It'll be one hot summer to I-Rock it with the Neocons. Catch them at the Wall Street Journal Arena, CNN, Fox News Speedway, MSNBC, and internet amphitheaters everywhere. Everywhere.
Oil and slave labor. These two wonderful industries make modern life a breeze. And what this fine little filly doesn't realize is that her chic accessories and stunning appearance come from oil and slave labor.
Huh?
That's right, classy lassie. Everything from your thong to your nail polish, your smartphone to your eyelashes come from oil and slave labor. Your top from Uzbekistan. Shorts from China. Jewelry from Indonesia. And your iPhone from Taiwan.
Oh no, not my iPhone!
Steve Jobs may have been a genius, but he couldn't work like a 5-year-old Asian boy can. Even your brawn panties from Bangladesh. Whoa there! Looks like science can go no further. Except for these silicone beauties from DuPont.
Hey.
Oil and slave labor, making the Western world beautiful.